Welcome to the Membership Guys podcast. Kick-ass advice and tips for membership site owners.
Welcome to episode 68 of the Membership Guys podcast with me, your host, Mike Morrison, one half of the Membership Guys. If you are planning or running a membership website, this is the show for you. In today's episode, I'm talking all about content production and in particular, how to streamline the production of content for your membership. One of the big areas, one of the big surprises that a lot of people find when they start a membership is just how much time and effort can be taken up by creating fresh content for your membership. And particularly if you're billing people on a recurring basis, that pressure to deliver value on a recurring basis can certainly take its toll if your content production processes aren't slick, aren't streamlined, and aren't leveraged. So here are my top tips for making that happen. First and foremost, you need to reframe the purpose of content and the role that it plays within your membership. Remember that at the end of the day, we're all problem solvers. That's all your membership's here for. Your audience have problems, they look to you to solve them, and they joined your membership having made an assessment about your ability to help them get the result they want, the outcome they want. So make sure, first and foremost, you always have that in mind when it comes to planning out your content, and that you're not simply creating content for content's sake. It's easy to get sucked into the trap of playing the numbers game when it comes to content, where you're simply churning out courses and tutorials and training references and all that sort of stuff, just so you can say, we have the biggest library of content in this market. Also, you can put something that is a vanity metric about how much content you've got on your sales page. That's not what people join for. Sometimes they may be seduced by that kind of stuff, but ultimately when they're looking to you to provide value, just having more content than anyone else isn't going to do it. You also need to make sure that you're avoiding the risk of overwhelming your members, and that can happen when you have too much content, particularly if it's unorganized, particularly if you're not doing anything to actually show people which content to consume first and how to utilize your content to make progress along a proven pathway towards the end result that they want. Focus on providing solutions to problems. If you can solve a problem or get a result for someone in one 10-minute long lesson, then you're serving nobody by trying to find ways of dragging that out over a 2 or 3 hour long course purely to satisfy the numbers game. So, key step before you get started on any of the practical side of things when it comes to thinking about content production and content strategy for your membership is to really nail down the role that content plays and how it actually factors into providing solutions to problems, because that moves you away from the numbers game and that releases some of the pressure that you can put yourself under as a membership site owner to feel that you need to be putting out a course every week or just constant pieces of content. It actually doesn't serve your members if that's what you're doing. So that's the first stage in streamlining your content production. The second tip is to get realistic about expectations that your members have and your ability to shape them. Again, we talk about that pressure that you may feel as a membership site owner to constantly be churning out content, but we put ourselves under a lot more pressure than our audience and then our members actually put us under. Our members don't expect there to be a 5-hour course released every single week. Yet I've spoken to membership site owners and I've worked with membership site owners where they are breaking their backs trying to churn out hours after hours of content, and their members aren't expecting it. So again, get realistic about the expectations you put on yourself and get realistic about the expectations that your members have. More importantly though, recognize that whatever your member expectations are, you have the ability and you have the control to shape them. If you do have members who for some reason are expecting you to be putting out a new course every week, it's down to you to shape them. The great thing with a membership site is that while it does involve a lot of work, it's work that is conducted on your terms. So if you don't want to, or if you're not in a position, or if it doesn't serve you or your members to put out a new course every week, or even a new course every month, you can shape that. As long as you're clear and as long as you're transparent about what people actually get in their membership. So, as long as you're not putting on your sales page, we will release a new course every day, then it's up to you what you release, when you release it. Communicate it to your members, and obviously, always operate in service of this idea of helping members to solve their problems. But realize you're in control. You get to set expectations, and more often than not, you feel that your members will expect certain things from you that actually they don't. So really be realistic about those expectations. So again, those first two big tips, it's down to mindset, it's down to reframing content, it's down to really accepting and understanding your role in your membership, the role that creating content, delivering content has, expectations and all of that. Third tip is to establish content streams. So I like to call this the Neapolitan ice cream strategy. So this is where essentially you have a different flavor of content to satisfy different tastes. People learn in different ways. People react to different types of content differently. People join your membership for different things. Some people will actually join your membership without any interest in your training courses. So if all you're producing is training courses, or if you put all your attention on the training courses and less attention on things like community or any sort of live element, then again, you're not servicing that particular member as well as you are servicing the people who did join because they want your courses. So if you look at things in terms of content streams, so perhaps you have 3 or 4 different content streams. So these are essentially different types or different formats of content. One of those might be a static course. One of those might be a 1-hour tutorial. Perhaps one of them is a discount or an offer. Maybe one of them is a member webinar. The important thing is that you spend time looking for different formats and different mediums that you can deliver content in order to cater to different learning styles, cater to different requirements and needs of your members. And the fourth tip that feeds into that is embrace live delivery and low friction content. One of the biggest mistakes we see membership site owners make is having all of their content in a format that requires them to spend hours and hours creating stuff up front. So where they're only releasing courses or tutorials, where they're having to spend hours recording stuff, editing it, creating all these lessons and all that sort of stuff. And that's the only content they're putting out. So that content is a constant grind because there's a lot of effort and a lot of friction involved with it. If you embrace live content, so that could be a monthly live training session or a monthly members mastermind call or Q&A call, as well as other forms of low friction content, it doesn't have to be a course or a piece of education material to be content. It could be a discount or a perk that you've gone out there and negotiated from a supplier of a service or a product that your members would benefit from. So that can actually be one of your content streams. You don't have to create anything. You don't have to record anything. All you need to do, send out some feelers, get in touch with people, network, hustle, land some discounts, and then that can be one of your content streams. So if you've got 4 content streams, you're releasing a different type of content every week. One of those weeks, the type of content that you release could be a member exclusive perk. The workload for that compared to the workload of creating a course is like night and day. But the value that that's going to have for your members could potentially be even more than a course would be. So again, this is why you need to have that multiple streams of content. Embrace the low friction content. So when you talk about live training, of course, you're going to do a little bit of preparation, but the time and logistics involved in actually delivering a live webinar versus sitting down and recording a multi-part course, again, massive, massive difference. You're not having to do all that work up front, but the end result could be equally, if not more, valuable. So things like live webinars, things like a live member mastermind call, where actually you really don't need to do anything other than show up and field questions live. The value that can have can be massive. So again, that can be one of your content streams. So content stream number 1 might be a course, a 2-hour course. So in week 1, you release a course. In week 2, you do a live training session, so a traditional kind of webinar. Week 3, you release a brand new member perk. Week 4, you host a member Q&A call. Now, of those 4 different content streams, only one of them is requiring a whole bunch of work up front. The other 3 are low friction, but the value is still high. And also, with the live training calls, you can record them, you put them in an archive, you have them, they're permanent. And so a new member joining has this wealth of great information available to them. So embracing live delivery of content and low friction content is a massive, massive thing when it comes to streamlining your content production, and it's something we do in MemberSite Academy. We have multiple different content streams. We do a monthly live webinar. We do a monthly members call. We have member-only resources, which include perks or plugins or discounts or, a downloadable guide. We release courses. We also have quick wins, which are 5 to 10 minute long mini training sessions that are very highly specific, but help people get a win, help people solve a really specific problem quickly. So having the multiple different content streams, that can change the nature of content production, in that all of a sudden you go from all of your content requiring a lot of production time to only 1 out of 4 of your content streams. So 25% of your content requiring production. So that's a big, big way of cutting down the production time of your membership content. And taking things further with the live delivery, you can actually bring in guest experts. So if one of your content streams is doing a live webinar every month, then there still is work involved with that for you. You're going to prepare your slides. You're obviously delivering the session. It's still one-way content, but you could actually bring in third-party experts to either do all of those live sessions or to do 1 in every 2 or 1 in every 3 of those sessions. For a start, that lightens the workload for you, but it also exposes your audience to a greater range of expertise. So if you're bringing in people to speak about a topic that you don't necessarily have particular expertise or experience with, then you're providing so much more value to your members. And there's so many other different benefits of it, particularly if the people you're bringing in are influencers or are of a certain level of expertise and experience, because you get the rub from association with those guys, and you also build up a lot of goodwill for enabling your audience to access their knowledge that otherwise they wouldn't have access to. And when it comes to content production, again, you set it up, you're negotiating, you're hustling to get these people in to deliver these sessions for you, but the actual work involved in creating the material, delivering it, there's no production required from your point of view either. So again, that can really reduce how much work is involved and streamline your content production. And don't forget, it doesn't have to be the big name experts who you bring in to actually deliver this sort of content. You can tap into your own member base and user base. So if you identify members amongst your site that would make for good case studies, or perhaps, you might decide one of your content streams is actually a member hot seat or a member coaching call, where for 60 minutes, you're essentially just doing a bit of one-on-one consultation with your member while the rest of your member base watch and while it's being recorded. That can provide immense value. People react and respond very well to seeing practical examples laid out in front of them, and case studies, real life case studies, particularly from people who, your members may know from the community, they maybe interact with and maybe get on with socially and so on. You can actually use that user generated content as one of your content streams. Then again, you get those benefits from not only having the reduced workload of delivering live content, but further reducing it by making that live content that you're not actually necessarily having to create and produce in advance. And this is going to be particularly useful if you don't have necessarily access to a whole bunch of expert guests that you can bring in. Look to your user base to see what opportunities exist to actually involve them in the content you're producing. So the first two tips that I gave you for streamlining your content production were really about mindset. Reframe the role of content within your membership. Accept and embrace and understand that it's not about the numbers game or producing content for the sake of content. It's about providing solutions to problems. The second tip was getting realistic about expectations and recognizing that you put far more pressure on yourself to deliver content in higher quantities than your members likely do. And if you do find your members being a bit over demanding, it's completely within your control to shape and change those expectations. The next tips from there were about the type of content that you actually have. So looking at ways of having multiple different streams of content, embracing that Neapolitan ice cream strategy where you have different flavors of content for different tastes, different learning styles, different needs, and so on. Embrace live delivery and low friction content. Don't think every piece of content in your membership needs to be this mammoth epic effort to create. Little things like being able to negotiate a 10% discount off a service that your members use on a regular basis, that as content can often have more value to particular members or particular segments of your audience than a 2 or 3 hour course that you spend ages creating and perfecting could ever have. Look at ways of bringing in guests or even tapping into your own member base to further reduce the amount of work you need to actually put in to that sort of live content, but also to expose your members to a greater variety of opinions, of experiences, and expertise. So we talked mindset, we talked the type of content. The next tips that we have for streamlining your content production come down to the actual practical side of producing content. And the first of those is to make sure that you're planning 3 to 6 months ahead with your membership content. So once you've established your content streams, get a spreadsheet, get a whiteboard, get something where you actually map out week by week if you decide you're going to release one content stream or one item a week, or month by month. You might actually decide if there's 4 content streams, you're only going to release one item a month, maybe one item every 2 weeks. We'll probably recommend you want to release one thing a week or one thing a fortnight. Decide on how regularly you want to actually release something and then map this out. Plan ahead 3 to 6 months, exactly what course you're going to create, what tutorial you're going to create, what the topic of your live session is going to be, what perk you're going to deliver. And, you might not be able to actually put down the specifics for every single item 6 months ahead. You might, need to spend a little more time hustling for member offers or, nailing down guests, but at least have these items in your diary so you know that in week 3 of January 2017, you're going to be delivering a member mastermind call. Making sure that you have a plan, you know what's going to be created in as much detail as you can, gives you that pathway, gives you that track, and it gives you a little bit more control around how you schedule other stuff and how you time other things in relation to your content production. Actually having that 3 to 6 month plan is going to serve you so much better than just winging it and creating content on the fly. The next thing you really want to start doing is when you're actually creating your content, you want to start documenting the different steps involved, because the end game for really having a streamlined content production process is to systemize it. If you can identify that there are 20 distinct actions that need to take place in order for you to plan, schedule, and deliver a live members mastermind call, then that's systemized. That means you can then start to identify which tasks within the process of actually creating and delivering this content, which of those tasks can be outsourced, which could be cut out or improved or changed to be more efficient. When you start identifying that, particularly if you've got other people in your team, you can assign different responsibilities to different people within the production process. You can bring in virtual assistants and you actually provide them with a step-by-step guide for how to produce or how to do the production work on a course. This sort of systemization, creating what is called a standard operating procedure from all of the content production that you do, makes it so much easier to fit stuff around, so much easier to hire, so much easier to outsource particular tasks to ensure that you're only working on the stuff that only you should be doing or only you can do. So you then, over time, essentially, you become the talent. So you do the bit you need to do, which would be actually recording the course or presenting the live training session. You turn up and do your thing, safe in the knowledge that all the other stuff that needs to happen for that piece of content to go live on your site or to be made as good as it can be is being taken care of by the rest of your team. Getting that systemization, documenting your processes, making sure that you have consistent standard operating procedures, that's going to make things so much easier for you over time, particularly when it comes to outsourcing. And once you've got those standard operating procedures nailed and you've identified the key tasks that you personally need to be doing and the tasks that other people in your team are doing, then you can start batching. Batching is the key to really being highly efficient and highly productive when it comes to creating content. So rather than creating week 1's content just before week 1, week 2's content just before week 2, you can actually set aside months in advance 2 or 3 days where you create in advance the content that will then be released further down the line. So this is why you need to plan 3 or 4 months ahead. This is why you need to systemize and really nail down the processes involved in actually creating and producing content so that you can isolate the main stuff that you should be doing and then scheduling batching times where you create 2, 3, 4, 5 courses or tutorials. Maybe you create a dozen worksheets. You can create 3 to 6 months worth of content in advance, depending on your particular strategy. And again, that means that once it's done, if you've got other people in place who are taking care of the rest of the stuff that you don't necessarily need to be involved with personally, then you don't need to worry about it. You can get on with promoting, growing your membership, with engaging with your community, with focusing on higher level stuff. And being able to do that rather than constantly being stuck in the trenches, grinding out loads and loads of content and never really being able to focus on the big picture stuff. The ability to do that is what's going to make the difference in terms of how long your membership's going to last, how successful it could possibly be. So those are my top tips for streamlining your membership content production. Tip 1, reframe the purpose of the content and get realistic about your expectations of yourself and what you perceive members to expect of you. Establish multiple content streams using the Neapolitan ice cream strategy where you are providing different flavors of content for different tastes. Embracing live delivery and low friction content as part of that to reduce your workload. Bring in guests, tap into user-generated content to expose members to a wider range of experience and expertise, while also further reducing the amount you need to be personally involved in delivering value to members. Make sure that you're planning 3 to 4 months ahead so you know what content needs to be released at what time. And if you've systemized, documented your processes, making sure your content production is consistent and creating solid standard operating procedures, you can then start to build a team. You can outsource various elements, freeing you up to only need to focus on the stuff that only you can do. And that's going to enable you to batch the work that you need to do for your content, safe in the knowledge that everything else will be handled by your team, ultimately freeing you up to focus on the various other elements of running and growing a successful membership. Now, what I want you guys to do today is to spend a couple of minutes really thinking about the one thing you can do today that is going to help you on the path towards streamlining your content production. So if you're still in the planning stage, or if you're still trying to figure out your actual content strategy, it might be making a decision on multiple content streams. Perhaps you're going to invite someone to come and do a live session. If you're doing all the live training sessions yourself, that could be your one thing, to arrange to bring in an expert, or maybe to contact someone who runs a service or offers a product in order to negotiate a perk. Perhaps it's just going to be planning 3 to 6 months ahead, or maybe you're going to look at your blog creation, at your podcast creation, at your course creation, and actually just document it. Pick one thing you're going to do within the next week, and then send me a tweet at Membership Guys, or jump into our Facebook, talkmemberships.com. It's our free Facebook group for membership site owners. Jump into there and post in there the one thing that I'm going to do within the next week to streamline my membership content production is. We'd really like to hear from you guys. We really want to help you get a better handle on streamlining your content production. That's it from this episode. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys have had some actionable advice. Remember, tweet me at Membership Guys or jump into our Facebook group, talkmemberships.com, to let me know what one thing you're going to do in the next week to improve your content production. Thanks for downloading this episode. Thanks for spending a bit of time with me. I'll be back again very soon with another installment of the Membership Guys podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode of the Membership Guys podcast, we invite you to check out the membersiteacademy.com. The Member Site Academy is the essential resource for anyone at any stage of starting, growing, and running a membership website. So whether you're still figuring out what your idea is going to be, or whether your website is already up and running and you're just looking for ways to grow it and attract new members, then the Member Site Academy can help you to get to the next level. With our extensive course library, monthly training, exclusive member-only discounts, perks and tools, and a supportive, active community to help you along the way with feedback, encouragement and advice, the Member Site Academy is the perfect place to be for anyone looking to start, manage and grow a successful membership website. So check it out at membersiteacademy.com.